just some thoughts about the 2025 year being a numerology number 9, and of course 2026 being a 1. What does that mean, really? I mean, numbers govern this whole reality, right? Like, zeros, ones, this whole world is based on some sort of geometric patterning and numbers. And if you add up the numbers of the year, it tells you what numerology number you're at in terms of the year. Not for you individually, but for the collective as the year. And the 9 in this year is known as a number of completion. It's unconditional love, letting go of judgment, completing a cycle. So if you think of your last 9/10 years, the last decade, how has that been flavored? What has been your theme? Because there's something that's been playing out in that cycle, and it's coming to the end of that cycle to start another one. So this year, every year around November and December, everyone starts to get gritty and washed up, and the year hits you, and people take stock of where they're at. It's a natural progression in our little human psyches. It's not necessarily a spiritual one, but it's a human one. And we start to reflect on things, and things come up for us to deal with. So it starts to get like harder or more gritty or awkward and discomforting. And most years it's a great opportunity to do a little end of year ceremony or ritual. We do one every year. But beyond that, this year is particularly big because it's not just the end of year, it's the end of that 9-year cycle. Now, there's cycles within cycles. I'm not going to say that this is the only cycle you can deal with your stuff. But if you think about the 9, what is ending? What is completing? And to end properly, to go into the new year, you have to get the evolutionary lessons. Like, think about it. You don't just go, oh yeah, this decade's been difficult, or this year's crap, I'm just going to move forward. I'll do my little obligatory burn ceremony and go forward. It requires a little bit more deeper thought around that, or deeper reflection of what has been going on for me in this last 9-year cycle, what is wrapping up, and most importantly, what have I learned? What has come to the forefront that is meaning I can evolve and shift, which really begs the question of what is deathing? What is deathing, and what are you ready to let death, and what's birthing? Because they're the opposite, right? If I death the people pleaser, then maybe my birthing is birthing my true honest expression. Or if I death my job, I'm birthing a new direction that is more freeing for me, or more enlightening, or more purposeful. Or if I death off a relationship, then I birth into this person that starts to be able to be a bit freer in their movement forward without feeling stuck in a relationship. So there's always something that's deathing and always something that's birthing. So the 9-year is a particularly big year. So if you're feeling that grittiness, well done, like you are heading into that raw, awkward grittiness. And then of course you have to think about what the 1 means, because whatever you do next year, especially at the beginning of the year, is a little bit of a flavor of how the next 9-year cycle will go for you. How do you want to start that new year? How do you want to be in that 1 energy? Because 1 is that directed pathway, purpose, action going forward. So what is it? Like, be intentional. The law of intention, that universal law of what do I want to set for the next 9 years? What's important to me? How would I start this path in a way that births the version of me that I want to show up as, not this gritty kind of maybe a little bit fractured version of me now? So to put that into perspective, it just could be the way that you approach work. It could be the way that you live your life. It could be radical. It could be moving country. It could be, resigning from an old job. It could be something massive. It could be chucking your entire wardrobe out and starting again with how you want to show up in the world physically. So have a think about that. What's deathing and going, and that will probably give you a lot of insight into what the 1 year is going to mean for you and how it might look. So enjoy doing that process, and just know that this is the time to do it. The last 2 months of this year, and then of course early into January. If you don't want to look at the 1 year until January, that's totally fine. But just make sure you wrap up the 9-year cycle and really get those deep dive lessons. Thanks for listening.